Live from Cool Boys Central.
You're the boss now, man. I'm boss up here.
From bat tips to bat nips, we are just cool boys revisiting Batman, the animated series, and wearing hats. This is Batman and Beyond, a Cool Boys podcast.
I see Batman and Beyond.
Greetings, Cool Boy Nation, and welcome to another installment of Batman and Beyond, a Cool Boys podcast. I'm Ballard.
And I'm Steve.
So cool. Tonight's episode is The Mechanic, directed by Kevin Altieri, story by Steve Perry.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm excited because anytime I see the name Steve, it reminds me of you.
Oh, I thought it was because of Journey.
Oh, Steve, don't make that Journey joke. We shouldn't be making that joke anymore. It's not funny anymore, Steve.
Oh, man. I thought I could bring it back.
Nope.
Wow.
Sorry, buddy.
I'm going to.
Stories also by... What?
I'm going to bring it
Are
back.
you gonna start bringing it back?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
You'll see.
The story's also by Laren Bright, and the teleplay is by Randy Rogel. This episode came out January 24th, 1993, and this week's villain is the Penguin. Wikipedia says, thanks to a freak accident during a high-speed chase, the Batmobile is virtually demolished. After Batman takes the car to his personal mechanic, Earl Cooper, the Penguin makes his move and tampers with the Batmobile, putting it under his control. Hashtag me too. Hashtag time's up, Penguin. Okay?
Wow.
Not cool. Not cool. Give the Batmobile back its agency. Note, the Penguin scheme in this episode was similarly featured in Batman Returns, which actually did come out before this episode. Batman Returns came out in 92, June or July of 92. So maybe they were in production with that movie already having come out. And then, yeah, maybe they utilized it as some kind of homage.
Maybe just ideas were in the ether.
Or, yeah, just walking around Warner Brothers, studio. Someone was just like, hey, I got an idea for Burton's new Batman movie. What is it? I think Penguin's going to take over the Batmobile. And, right then, Steve Perry was walking by on his way to, to work with his band members' Journey. And he's just like, taking over the Batmobile. Genius!
I was just thinking that they both separately came up with the idea.
Mm-mm.
When did Batman Returns come out? 1992?
Batman Returns, June of 92.
Okay. Yeah.
So, there was enough time for them to cram this episode in there.
And copy it.
And copy it, yeah. Cool.
So sad.
What's so sad?
That copy.
Just that in general?
Yeah.
That people copy people in the same company?
Mm-hmm.
I think with a character like Batman, it's more like homaging.
You feel like that's what's going on in this one?
Yeah, a little bit more so. I think in general, when you kind of deal with characters that are essentially part of franchises and canon that dates back decades, I think a lot of that tends to just be homaging. There's a lot of homage in this show, for sure.
I feel like when it's the comic books, that's it's just taken from its source material, and I guess this was kind of based on the Tim Burton verse.
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about that multiple times in the show about how characters seem to be kind of an amalgamation of characters. Yeah, Penguin especially. He's Burgess Meredith, and he's definitely Danny DeVito, as well as his own kind of comic book creation version of him. And then, you get, characters who don't get, origin stories, like Catwoman, because we just saw it in Batman Returns. So there's definitely a thought process of, we don't maybe need to do this, because it was already explained there. I think you said that literally in the past, too.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is another example of one of those episodes, especially with the taking over the Batmobile. But one of the things about this episode I really like is it's kind of like showing the curtain pulled back, and you're seeing some of the behind the scenes of what makes Batman Batman.
So, I agree with what you were saying about pulling the curtain or just seeing the behind the scenes, and I think that's what the show. One of its lasting memories is just when it goes back and it flashes back to how Batman was training or whatnot, or when this one how his Batmobile is maintained. I think that's like what's nice about how the longevity of the show is that they were able to do those sort of episodes.
Absolutely, very true. This episode was imprinted on me as a little child immediately for those exact reasons. Just kind of being like, whoa, this is the shit I didn't think of. This is the infrastructure to Batman that I didn't know existed or cared to think of it existing when it came out. I was about 12. And actually I was 11. And I was blown away by this episode. I was like, holy shit, this speaks so many volumes to me. And it fleshes out the world so much more. Like, the be able to see, like, how does someone like Batman function? Because there's so many questions to, like, how does he do this? How does he do that? Well, Alfred must be a great, seamstress and car mechanic to be able to do everything. And they do show Alfred in this show working on the car.
Doing lots of multiple jobs. But, yeah, the same thing where how does Batman...
What did they say, Steve? Jack of all trades, master of none?
I guess so. But Alfred, I think, is a master of the butlery craft, which requires,
everything.
A knowledge of everything, even nursery rhymes or, riddles.
Yes. He has a cursory, no, more than a cursory knowledge of riddles. He was like any little schoolboy would know that riddle.
Schoolboy. But, I do like in this episode, I guess, that it's Batman and Robin. And that this one's kind of involving both of them for whatever reason. And I did like the car crash. I felt like this was kind of one of the notes I made was that it was a more realistic portrayal of what would happen, if they both cars crashed. Like I liked when the car got away, like all its wheels fell apart or whatnot.
You mean when the car jumped the drawbridge and landed on the boat below? Yeah, it just blew all the wheels, axles, drivetrains, all that shit are just gone. Absolutely.
I've seen other cartoons, probably even in the same series, where they'll land that and it'll be fine. So they were trying to be a little bit more realistic, I think, because this involves a mechanic or involves car problems. And and then the same thing with the bridge, just like wrecking the car. It was definitely fairly realistic in its terms.
Yeah, what's really realistic about it, too, is like how uneventful the accident was. The drawbridge closing on itself and smashing the front end of the Batmobile is realistic in the sense that it just crushes it and it lifts it up in the air a little bit, and you're like looking inside the cabin at Batman and Robin. They're both just kind of like, oh, awkward. And it is, because like unless you're in a horrible accident where your car's spinning out of control because you're going 80 miles an hour on the freeway and you lost control, hit something or whatever. Accidents that happen at slow speeds like this one are just kind of, they're just awkward moments, and like that's kind of what it is. And you always, when you're, at least in my experience, when you're done with the car accident, I mean, I was just in a car accident a few weeks ago and like had this whole trauma and had to like go on pills and stuff. And I actually had issues with the pills, and now I'm sober, which is really good. This is like 2 weeks sober. I'm really proud of myself.
Thank God.
Thank God. Yeah. Oh yeah, every day I thank God.
Have you gone religious too in your sobriety?
Hey, don't be making fun of. Yeah, by the way, I have found our Lord and Jesus Christ and our Savior. Absolutely, right, yeah. Okay. But you don't need to go and like make fun of that. I used to be Jewish and now I'm Christian, but I don't fucking want to read into that any more than you already are.
Let's
inferring.
Keep this all. Let's
let go and let God.
Batman.
Woo! Don't you get in between me and my Lord, Steve.
I don't want this to get into a religious conversation.
Okay. Well, that being said, I am sober again. 2 weeks. It's awesome.
I'm proud of you, buddy. They get their bat cycles back. They do. They get their
loners.
Shit,
They're called loners.
What?
They're called loners.
I don't know. Those were the loners.
No, Earl says, I got 2 loners ready for you or something like that.
I forget.
So it's Earl Cooper. So, of course, Batman, right? He goes in the Batmobile with Robin to Earl Cooper's, business, which is just a warehouse with a false floor, and he goes down. He goes into the place, meets Earl Cooper, says hi to Earl Cooper, says hi to his daughter, Marva. Mm-hmm. Sounds a lot like Martha to me.
And Robin says what's up, too. He knows the game.
He does. And then they get on their motorcycles, like you said, they're loners, and they take off. And then we go to see what happened to the Penguin. And his buddy... one of his hired goons is actually working on the car, and it looks totally messed up. And so it's kind of funny, like the juxtaposition that Batman's got this pristine, body shop essentially that's privatized for him only. And then you have like Penguin in like his lair, and he's got like this goon who has clearly no idea what he's doing. He's just like, I don't know.
It seemed like he knew what he was doing, and that was why I thought they brought in that guy.
Arnold Rundle?
Yeah, because he was...
His buddy, Arnie?
Somehow related to them trying to get auto parts, too, for their car. That's how I thought how this guy
I guess you're right, yeah. So that's the guy that knows the most about auto parts in this episode.
And so what happened to him? Did he get killed? Did he
Yeah,
die?
so exactly. So Arnold Rundle literally gets put onto a ducky, like a penguin ducky, and gets sent down a indoor river
Gives him
to a
check,
whirlpool
though, for $400,000.
Yeah, and then he gets a check essentially to
Pretty
die,
exciting. I was
and
like,
everything
oh.
about the moment is like totally like foretold by Penguin, like that, like he's gonna kill you, and the guy gets on the boat anyways, goes to his death, and then they fade to black. It's the first time in this show we don't know if this person lived. Even in the episode with Talia al Ghul not too long ago, there was a moment where the guy got pushed off the Statue of Liberty. The informant falls all the way in water, but at least resurfaces.
They pop
before
up
going
to-
back under. Before going back under, and
They
maybe
drown.
dying.
Yeah, they drowned. There
Yeah.
was no way they survived that fall.
The two
All their limbs were broken.
Right, the two assassins that were there, right, from the League of Shadows. What are they called in this? Society of Shadows. They were the ninjas. They were also quote unquote dead. Like they gassed themselves with cyanide or some shit, right? But then like, oh no, they had mind erasing poison on them or something. That's all it was. Mind erasing gas.
Yeah.
This guy died. Arnold Rundle is dead.
I'm pretty sure he didn't come back. They didn't show at the end like richer than ever or something like that.
No.
That was I was shocked.
I was shocked too. And the fact that they then cut to black and it's essentially a commercial break.
Yep.
He's
just
dead.
Like, bye. It's like, guys, what's going on?
Because when you come
it's
back
like-
from the commercial break, he's not alive or anywhere. They're blowing into Earl Cooper's mechanic shop, his body shop.
No, yeah, he's nowhere to be found. I thought he mentioned that he's just going to be dropped off into the ocean, so maybe,
Yeah, he says that like it goes out to sea.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're almost wondering if it's kind of like sleeping with the fishies. See?
I kind of took it as like, that everything just kind of gets dumped into the ocean, so he's just going
Right.
to be out in the middle of nowhere. But still, he's just going to die. I feel like, but who knows? That was interesting.
It was. Well, now we have Earl Cooper, of course, telling
Backstory.
Penguin his flashback of how he got to where he got to be working for Batman. And he worked at a place called Global
Classic.
Motors. GM. GM, if you will.
They really like to do the corporate heads are just terrible people. It's such a classic story.
I wonder if somebody on this staff for Batman had an issue with their GMC, right? They're like, fuck GM, man. You know what I like, Steve? Is that this flashback was a blue flashback.
Yeah, it's blue. I guess I'm colorblind, but I took it as black and white.
Well, it's like a bluish black and white. Kind of like sepia is like an orangish, goldish black and white.
Okay, this is more of a cool.
Yeah, it's more of like a cobalt kind of thing going on.
One of the things I thought was fun was when they in his little flashback was how decrepit the Batmobile looked when Earl meets Batman.
Haven't we seen that before in this series too? That particular Batmobile?
I think
in
we've seen that
flashbacks?
Batmobile, but not where it pulls up kind of like all rinky
Shaky?
dink, and it's like
Yeah.
it looks like it's about to
Fall
die.
apart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Alfred. That's literally Alfred's job as a
keep it
mechanic.
together,
He's
He's
horrible.
just putting band-aids on it or whatever.
Yeah, Alfred's literally just using like epoxies and stuff like that to hold things on. He's just like, well, see if this whole front end bat head it will work. And then I liked how this guy Earl, he just like he designs it. He puts in all this titanium shit, all these things I don't even know about, like trinitrate blasters and things. And you're like, whoa, dude, this guy's going all out. And then he unveils it, and it looks so spanking good. It looks so shiny. It looks so amazing.
Ding.
Ching. Were you doing the sound effect of like of the light sparkling off of his paint job? Yeah. I thought it was fantastic. I like the way that Penguin gets in there and essentially holds his daughter Marva hostage, and it's really fucked up. It's really
the only
really
thing
graphic.
that doesn't make sense, and it's happened I think twice, or this is the second time in the series, like where they're trying to kill Batman. He has a remote control car. He he's gonna drive him into a wall, and instead of driving him into a wall and killing him, he turns abruptly and then like somehow drives without seeing where.
It's teasing.
That is
They're
easy.
toying with him.
But that's the only part that makes sense, where you can actually see the car, and then it starts going into like a parking structure, and there's no way that he can see how to drive in this parking structure, but somehow Penguin's able to control the car through the parking structure.
You're right. It's definitely not down in the basement, Steve.
I was gonna bring that up too.
Why don't you just talk about it?
Down in the basement.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do?
I had it as a note, but I thought that was fun code. Yeah, and he remembers it so much later. He's like, down in the basement. I should have remembered that's code for, what kind of code was it for? Military code or something?
It's a slang term in race car driving for crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that Batman, figures it out at the last minute down in the basement and then remembers the air conditioning button is fixed and he pushes it, right?
I liked when Batman's using his backglider to capture Penguin, and when he finally lands, they add in the animation the little tail bending when he lands. I thought that was a nice.
They've done that before.
Nice little detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They I think it was the episode with Boss Biggest. Maybe I might be wrong, but when he's hang gliding, he lands. I think in the canyon.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So it's like every time they use these things, it's like, what are they, disposable or something? So. What happened?
No. I think that I was thinking of them as kind of like some naval aircraft where the wings fold up so that they can actually fit them all on an aircraft carrier deck.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking that maybe it has a natural joint in it where it just naturally folds once they land.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Because it's really obvious when Robin lands. Right here.
Oh,
Watch
yeah,
Robin.
yeah.
He lands. It actually
of
bends like as soon as he lands. It's like dink.
I know,
So yeah, they're
like,
either damaging them every single time.
I'm going with it that they're like, so rich they don't care, and they're breaking them.
Batman is not very green, right? He's not very sustainable. He's just like buying these super large bat wings, right? These bat gliders, and then just throwing them away. They're like one use only.
And they're probably made of some sort of special material.
Right, that like takes forever to break down and go back into the earth, and it just probably becomes toxic anyways when it gets to the water supply.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And he just has these, and he has them literally all over the city, as we've seen before.
Exactly. And then,
well, finishing up this episode, we see Robin talking to Marva.
Flirting.
Well, we see Batman and Earl talking, and then as they walk away, you see, because Batman's gonna give Earl all the tight shit now. He's gonna get a whole new setup, new body shop, and he's got new dummy corporations, so that he can. Properly hide the ordering of car equipment. Steve, I want to ask you a quick question about that, though.
Uh-huh.
How legal is it for Bruce Wayne to be setting up these dummy corporations to buy car parts?
I don't see that there's anything wrong with that.
I tend to think, from my feeble little mind, that anytime someone has a dummy corporation, it should seem to be against the law to me. I don't know why they wouldn't be.
People, you're allowed to create as many companies as you want. You can just call them dummy corporations because they're like, there's not anybody managing them or whatever. But yeah, you can.
What does the dummy mean then? What does dummy corporation actually mean?
Oh, I don't know.
Because to me, it sounds like a facade,
it's a fake
like a front.
corporation, but it's not like that's illegal. If he's trying to hide money, that from like the IRS or like.
That's what he's doing. He doesn't want them to know it's Batman's vehicle
think
being
that
built on.
Necessarily, he's hiding it from IRS. He's hiding it from
everyone.
Arnold to basically trace who is purchasing the stuff.
So is Arnold getting paid legitimately by Bruce Wayne, or is he getting the take under the table?
Are you talking about Earl? Oh, I was talking about
Earl. Yes, Arnold. Sorry, Arnold's dead.
Arnold
got paid by the Penguin. Yeah. He's dead. Yeah.
I thought. Well, what was interesting was how Arnold figured it out, and that was kind of a interesting thing. But
which kind of is what happens in The Dark Knight as well. The movie The Dark Knight, where Mr. Reese, Mr. Reese, get it? Mr. Reese, he's the Riddler. Coleman Reese, he kind of figures it out the same exact way, literally finding the blueprints for the Batmobile, the Tumbler.
I don't think however he pays Earl,
And Marva.
I have no idea. Maybe with they probably
Dummy corporations?
Yeah, dummy corporations.
Now, would that be illegal?
I have no idea. I'm not a corporate attorney, but I would think that if he's paying taxes on those things, it's just that he's maybe not reporting him as a mechanic or whatnot. He's like reporting him as something else.
A consultant?
But, maybe that's not necessarily like illegal. But I think that I would say it depends is my best.
Well,
answer.
I'm a retired pizza delivery driver, so I don't know much about this type of stuff.
I know you're feeble little mind. I love how you portray yourself.
Well, this mechanic episode, I love how it ends.
What would you give
I
it?
love that
How
it
many
ends
boys?
with no, not yet. I love how the mechanic episode ends with Penguin in jail. He's doing the classic license plates. They're building license plates, right? And he gets one that says "One bat for you." Which, do you think that's Batman's license plate or just someone that loves Batman?
I think that was Batman's new license plate. We should check it out if we can see.
If we can see it?
Uh-huh. Do you think he registers the Batmobile?
Probably not.
Do you think, vigilante, that he's just driving around unregistered plates?
I love that, I'm all upset, like he might not be paying taxes, but, I don't give a fuck about the fact that he's, a crime fighter,
that he's
but not a
breaking the
police
law,
officer.
yeah.
He's not a sworn law enforcement officer in any sort, but I'm
dare
like,
he.
wait, is he paying taxes, though?
How dare he create a dummy corporation?
Yeah, well, that just seems shady as fuck, Bruce. I also want to point out that the license plate said Gotham State, the Dark Deco State. Now, we have talked about this Dark Deco thing before. This is the internal referencing to the aesthetic the whole show was given by Eric Radomski, that Bruce Timm and Paul Dini didn't have really anything to deal with other than just kind of approval processes over it. That's what he called it. They coined it internally as Dark Deco because they were painting on black. And they were doing all of this stuff, all this style and imagery, like Art Deco, but with a really, really, really dark look to it. That's why we have this kind of 1920s pastiche mixed in with a early 90s level of technology at times, or even more of a futuristic technology at times with stuff like Heart of Steel and Mr. Freeze, realistically.
I give it 4.5.
Yeah, that's good. I give this 5 out of 5 boys. It's fucking awesome to see this new take and a different spin and seeing an alternate angle into this life
I just
of Batman.
didn't like, I guess, the Penguin. I thought it could have been everything else with the mechanic and all that is a lot of fun, but I just didn't like the Penguin's presence in this episode.
Yeah, okay. You know what? I agree, actually. I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5 boys. Yeah. So, okay, I'll say this. This is the best the Penguin's ever been for me in the show so far as an adult. I really didn't dislike or like the Penguin when I was a kid. If anything, I was just kind of happy because it was hey, it's a new rogue. But I as I've rewatched these, I just don't care for Penguin episodes. This is the first and maybe the only in the first season of Batman, the animated series, that I actually loved the Penguin episode, or a Penguin episode, and that's this one. But he's never the same villain. He's kind of like
in this, how does he have so much? Do you think that he was actually giving $400,000?
No, it's just no. I don't think he was. Okay. So when you first see the Penguin, and he's like, what? It's Batman in my basement, right? That's the first time you see the Penguin, I think, as a villain, and it's like kids defeat him, and so you're kind of like, well, what's this villain matter? And then you see him again and almost got him, and his story's all right, but it's only all right because it's one of 5 or 6 stories in that episode. Villain stories. And then you get Penguin again later for it was the
Birds of a Feather.
Yeah, Birds of a Feather, where he was going and work and being with the high class people. And again, it was like a shitty episode. It just didn't. It was horrible. He went from I'm kind of okay, and you rich people suck, and I'm gonna take down you rich people, to all of a sudden hi Earl Cooper, I'm gonna have you do something so I can kill Batman, and guess what? I'm gonna take your daughter at gunpoint. It's just weird. It was a weird connection. Penguin isn't. He has not been the same character across the board.
Agreed.
I don't like this character, the Penguin, but once again, this is probably my favorite episode with the Penguin in it, and it has nothing to do with the Penguin, other than he is incredibly violent, and therefore he brings himself as a good villain to the story, but he is not the Penguin per se. And what makes this episode amazing is the behind the curtains.
Agreed.
Great bat stuff, Steve.
Great bat stuff.
Cool Boy Nation, tune in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Doop, 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 doop. Boop, 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 doop, doop, doop. Cool Boy Bat Nation, be sure to let us bat know what you bat thought of The Mechanic, or what your favorite bat episode is by bat emailing us at batmanandbeyondcoolboys@gmail.com. New episodes come out every Tuesday. Also, check out our other great Cool Boy Central content with the Cool Boys Podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Patreon. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Cool Boys and review us on iTunes. Also, donate to us on Patreon. It only costs $1 and you will receive special access to content too hot to air. You can find the Cool Boys on Patreon at www.patreon.com/coolboyspodcast. Thank you for listening. Stay cool, Cool Boy Bat Nation. Until next time, it's Byzies from Ballard.
And Byzies from Steven.
So cool.
Batman
And beyond.
Oh, yeah.
Batman
and beyond.